Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul. In this video, we're breaking down what if
and ponder the question, what if?
What if, what if, what if?
The 8th episode of Season 2 is now out and there's a lot to unpack from it. The episode sees an alternate version of the timeline set in 1602 that we discover is being racked by world-ending stakes. There's a lot to talk about, and the basis for this Earth actually has some roots in the comics. Can't talk about them without giving a spoiler alert though, so if you don't want to know, then turn off now. If you enjoy the video, please click the thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for breakdowns like this every day. With out of the way, a huge thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into 1602.
Strange? What are you doing here?
Oh, Peg, have I got a story to tell you.
Okay, so back in 2003, Neil Gaiman and Andy Kubert dropped the 1602 storyline, which took place over 8 issues. This saw strange weather patterns happening across the planet, which made many believe that the apocalypse had started. Gaiman said he always saw the Marvel Universe as magic and had really wanted to explore this time period. Like the episode, there were rifts in time, and it turned out that Steve Rogers had been sent back, which had caused the issues. Things got tied up with Steve going back, but several sequel comics spun out from this. This included one in which a spider landed on Peter Parker's hand, which was set off because of the energies from the rift, which contaminated the spider. There's some really cool callbacks to the comics that they do in this as well, and medieval universes in general have also appeared in other stories. During Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four run, we watched as Reed Richards built a bridge to look into other worlds. This allowed him to see into other realities in order to try and solve the problems of his own. For example, something like Civil War went down worse than me missing the first 4 episodes of What If, and Reed wanted to see if there'd been a world that fixed it. Thus he stared into the multiverse and searched for realities that would help his. Here he saw a medieval one that had solved their Civil War problem, and we got to spend about an issue roughly in that setting. So yeah, lots going on, and we actually pick up with Peggy sort of already settled into this universe. When we last left her, she'd just been pulled into it, but here she's been there for a while investigating the issues. In the end, it's another instance where Steve and Peggy can't be together because reality is tearing itself apart. Turns out that when Steve was fighting Thanos, that he struck the time stone, which ended up shattering it. This has caused the early 21st century and the 1600s to become compressed, explaining why the heroes with Steve are also back in this time. Everything up to Infinity War was exactly the same, so these figures wouldn't have been born back in the past, that they just all got pulled into it. This is what's caused the issues, and we begin with Loki reciting Hamlet on stage at the Globe Theatre. This is where a lot of early Shakespearean works debuted at, and Loki mentions his friend Will later on.
Will has written a new play, and it's about this character called Iago.
That's William Shakespeare, obviously, and in the upper section we catch Thor, his sister Hela, Nick Fury, and Happy Hogan. Hogan ends up going Happy Hulk Hogan later on, and brother, the puns are still A1. Now Loki's sucked up into the sky where he's pulled down by Peggy, but sadly the rift still ends up doing its damage. Pulling Hela up, this now puts Thor in charge, who takes his scepter. Also, I don't know why Hela's here, because she was dead at this point by Infinity War, but we'll just glance over that and pretend it's all fine. If you know, comments below. But the scepter obviously resembles the one that Loki carried in Avengers. However, we can see it's got the Time Stone instead of the Mind one, and this is because it's all tied in with lots of timey-wimey wibbly-wobbly stuff, with the Time Stone coming back too. During Secret Wars, they try to use the Infinity Stones to stop an incursion, but this shattered them all except for the Time Stone. This is somewhat sentient, and thus it travelled through time in order to survive. Now these storms are growing stronger and stronger, and thus Peggy's deemed as being a curse that's causing them to get worse.
But I'm not a rapper.
I also love how when you see Happy come in, you can see him go purple for a second because man's just about to Hulk out. Him doing this was of course set up in the Die Hard episode with his purple Hulk properly using the eggplant emoji with even more accuracy. Now the reason that I brought up the Civil War thing before is that after the title sequence, we get a sort of Sokovian Accord split in both of the teams. However, Thor has replaced Tony, with Tony now being on the side of the rebels. Peggy, like Cap, is on the run, and we discover that Wanda reached out into a neighbouring universe in order to save her own. I do wonder if the reason things are actually getting worse is because of the way that incursions work in the MCU, with them worsening due to Peggy's arrival. In the movie universe, an incursion happens because someone's in an alternate reality for way too long. This pulls the Earths together, and I wonder if Peggy being here is what's causing the added issues. That's a theory. But yeah, in those reality-ending days, it's definitely worth discussing. Hey, guess what? Very excited to talk about today's sponsors, AG1. We've been using them for months now. I feel a hell of a lot better in myself, and yeah, I'm very excited to work with this brand and tell you about all the benefits. AG1's the daily health habit that's filled with vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, and probiotics. Since having the kids and sending them to nursery, they've been bringing back lots of diseases, so I've been looking for ways to boost my immune system, which is where AG1 come in. It's a simple supplement, and with just one scoop you get 75 vitamins and minerals that replenish your daily nutrients and leave you feeling better. Personally, I was also always drinking coffee all the time, like 3 cups a day at least, but this just gives me the energy that I need throughout the day. AG1 gives a comprehensive nutrition supplement that provides nutrients for your body, brain, and gut health. In your welcome kit, you'll get an AG1 pouch, a refillable canister, AG Vitamin D12, and K2. You'll also get the AG1 travel pack, shaker bottle, and a scoop as well. It's very simple, just one scoop in, give it a shake, and it also has a lovely vanilla and pineapple flavour, so it tastes great as well. I'm just so used to doing it now, it's become a daily health habit, but I look forward to how it makes me feel because it just starts off the day on the right foot. Just go to the link in the description, click that, and you're going to get a year's free supply of vitamin D3 and K2, plus 5 AG1 travel pouches with your first purchase. Huge thank you to AG1 for sponsoring this video. Just try them out, yeah, because it's going to make you feel more energized, you'll feel better in your body, and yeah, I definitely recommend that you check them out in the description. Thank you. Now we discover that this universe is dying, and Peggy shows her perceptions improve by hearing the Watcher. In the comics, he would normally appear when there was a seminal event about to go down, but I think her meeting him before means she can pick him up. Even she's a bit annoyed by his narration, but she refuses to go back to her world. We see Nick going through battle strategies and a sword and shield. It works in this universe. And Nick Fury brings up Nebula's observatory and the Isle of Ego, which, hey, you get them. Also, I like how Ego is an island, whereas he's a planet in the main universe, because he just likes to be off doing his own thing. Wanda talks about the future person, which has caused the rifts, and hey, makes sense it's Steve, because he's the man out of time. Overhearing this, we see his Fury's playing both sides as per usual, and he instructs Peggy to take it as a new mission. Cutting across to the barn, we see this universe as Tony Stark and can catch a Mark I armor-type mask on the side. Later on, we see the Mark I being used on Bruce Banner, with him being a play on the Man in the Iron Mask. Tony and Peggy examine the skull, which came close in contact to the tear and thus has its minerals. He also asks her for some of her words, with her saying flux capacitor, which I quite like. This obviously comes from Back to the Future, and bit of spam, we've got a big breakdown on the movie on the channel right now. Now, cut to Loki, who talks about Shakespeare writing a play about Iago, who was a character that popped up in Othello. The way he talks about him later, it's clear that Loki's playing him, but guys, you missed out on a bloody deep cut. Surprised that he didn't say Cassio, as that's who Hiddleston played when Kenneth Branagh saw him for the first time. Kenneth Branagh directed the first Thor, and as I've been saying, it's all connected. All connected shirts available now below the video. Help support the channel. Anyway, his carriage is ransacked by Roger's Hood and his band of merry men. Roger's Hood, you don't need me to go over the Robin Hood connections there, do you, mate? Come on, man. Promise the wife I'd have the week off for Christmas and New Year. No, all right. So Robin Hood was a British folk tale that originated in Nottingham about a kind-hearted thief who stole from the rich and gave to the poor. Here his band of merry men's made up of Ant-Man and the Winter Soldier, with Buck even having a black and silver metal arm like how he did around Infinity War. Scott's got his belt, and we can also see that Cap still has the star in the middle of his chest. Believing he's seen a ghost, Steve says his Margaret passed away many moons ago, and in the initial reality he came from, she of course died during Civil War. That had her passing away around the start of the film, and as Endgame hasn't happened yet, he hasn't got to go back. The pair are still destined to be together, and we see as they have a talk in a bar. This is the location that the pair have often sat and got closer to each other, with Peggy not really wanting to discuss her Steve.
No, I don't think I will.
Which is beautifully pulling from this moment.
No, I don't think I will.
However, it's broken up by the arrival of the Yellow Jackets, which builds off the back of Ant-Man's first major foe. These assassins force Scott to shrink too, with him riding on the back of Anthony, who comes from that first film. Cap's shield in this also somewhat hints at there being ties to Infinity War, as it's a similar shape to how it appeared in that. Man's also rocking the beard and the slick back look too, so we can date him as coming from the Infinity War time period. Now Bucky messes up and makes Happy mad, which is that why they did the whole thing, to do a Happy and Mad pun? I can't be the judge of that. It would be like the pot calling the kettle black widow if I made fun of that. But yeah, I can't be mad at the bad pun, and I feel that's why they did it. Anyway, the destroyer from Thor is brought in with him busting out the eye lasers that we saw in that. Ant-Man ends up turning this on its own men, and Peggy has to drop in order to block the blast. This gives a similar shot to the famous one from Civil War that not only appeared in the movie but also in the comics. Cut to Red Skull, who's now an executioner, and we see as Peggy's put up in a tower. This is similar to the Tower of London, which was used as a way to hold enemies of the realm, and even queens themselves, namely Queen Elizabeth. Anyway, the Watcher shows up to speak with Peggy, with him constantly saying, "What if?"
What if the world doesn't magically correct itself? What if it's the final straw that destroys this universe? What if, when the universe resets, you're trapped here forever?
Busting free, we get a great one-shot of Peggy rushing through the corridor, taking down the knights. Coming across the monster in the iron mask, he actually prefers how peaceful it is imprisoned. This is something Hulk goes to a lot of times in the comics, and after World War Hulk, he was kept underground. This was a place Bruce preferred to be, as it meant that the beast couldn't be unleashed. However, after Peggy gets the cell fired upon, Hulk busts free, and we see him recovering similar to how he did during Age of Ultron. Back at Tony's lab, we see a nice little historical nod with some bat-like wings hanging up on the wall. These are based on the ones by Leonardo da Vinci, which later went on to inspire Bill Finger and Bob Kane, Bob Kane's Batman. Google Bill Finger and Bob Kane Batman if you want to learn more. Anyway, Steve and the band arrive with him returning the shield, and they decide to do a heist on the royal court. A tear opens across the ceiling, resembling the ones from No Way Home, and after Hulk busts in, it all goes down. Happy and Steve go head to head, with Happy saying, "Taste my steel!" This might be a reach, but I actually think it's a reference to Scott Pilgrim.
Taste my steel!
We eventually get a Happy vs Hulk showdown to see who the strongest Avenger is, and you might notice that this Hulk has the beard, whereas the one in the Die Hard episode didn't. Finally making it to Thor, we see as he pulls out a vibranium sword, which we learn was gifted by the Prince of Wakanda.
Oh, Father, give me strength.
This is something Thor has uttered throughout the saga in times of need.
Oh, fathers, give me strength.
Cap also ends up taking down Red Skull, and leads to Wanda rebelling and holding Thor in place. Like Civil War, she ends up switching sides, and this allows them to put the stone in the machine. This provides Peggy with a gauntlet, and it allows her to unleash time energy. This stops the rift from tearing the world apart, and it finally reveals that Steve is the Forerunner. Remembering the fight with Thanos, we get a flash of the end of Infinity War and see how it all went down. Peggy's desperate to get a happy ending, but alas, this isn't the case, and he has to return home. He says that he's sure that out there somewhere they do, and as we know, there is a reality in which they get to be together. Now all the heroes are sent back to their time, with Peggy still remaining in the time period. As she wasn't with them, she hasn't been sent back, and we get a tease of what's to come in the finale with Supreme Strange rocking up. I'm guessing that, like the first season of What If, we'll see these storylines coming together with all the characters making an appearance for that. Strange of course showed up in the Kahori episode, and thus I think both she and Peggy at the very least are going to cross paths. Personally, I think it's going to be a big ensemble, and I can't wait to see what goes down in it. Anyway, that wraps up the entry, and thanks again for joining me. I do feel bad for missing those first 4, but yeah, just couldn't do it with the team's time off and wanting some time with the kids. Apologies for that, but yeah, thank you for all your support anyway, and huge thank you if you dropped a like on the video. If you want to support the channel as a member of the Spoiler Society, then please click the join button, and as a thank you, you'll get early access to videos every week. If you want something else to watch, you've got our What If videos on screen right now, the ones we did, so definitely head over there right after this. By the way, huge thank you for sticking through the video. I've been your host Paul, I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.